webinar. We'll be talking about responsive website design, and hopefully you guys will have several different takeaways that you guys can walk away with as it relates to helping you guys enhance your online visibility through your website. For those of you guys who attended all of our webinars throughout the year, I thank you so much for doing so. Hopefully you guys have found those informative and educational. If you guys have any questions about anything as it relates to our webinars, please reach out to us directly. So let's go ahead and get started with today's webinar on responsive website design. And before I get started, let me go ahead and share with you guys a little bit about myself. So my name is Lyle Zarmer. I've been with rezStream going on 4 years now. Started off as an intern. I worked for a small period with our internet marketing team. I then transitioned over into design, where I spent the majority of my time there developing, building websites, working with the marketing team, and making sure that those websites are useful for the end user. In addition to that, I am now the marketing coordinator here at rezStream, so I'll be coordinating a lot of different events, whether it be webinars, trade shows, etc. So please do reach out to me if you guys are ever wondering what's going on with rezStream. If you have any questions, I definitely would love to hear from you. Outside of that, I love sports, other than soccer, and that's just because I haven't figured out how to kick the ball, which is somewhat of a challenge for me, so I'm still working on that. And as you can see, my dog and myself included were big Dallas Cowboys fans. So this year we're doing a little bit better than where we were last year. Hopefully we can get out of the 8-8 trend. I'm looking forward to being able to talk a lot of smack about my Dallas Cowboys here. So responsive website design. Responsive website design is a very important component for you and your website and your visitors, making sure that they have a very user-friendly experience as they, do their shopping, if you will, determining where they want to stay for their vacations, etc. Responsive website design, and let me start here by kind of going over the topics first. So a couple of things that we'll be going over today. What is responsive website design? So I'll kind of be walking you guys through what exactly does it mean. I'll kind of do some small level technical things to kind of show you exactly what responsive looks like behind the scenes, if you will. From there, we're going to jump into responsive website design pros and cons, and we're going to be looking at how responsive website design compares to mobile websites, which was also a solution at a point in time. From there, we're going to talk about why responsive website design. If you have a mobile website, you may be wondering why I need responsive, or if you have a website right now, you may be wondering why should it be responsive. So we're going to kind of outline a handful of things that you'll be able to use to kind of help you make that purchase or that decision on getting your website into a responsive state if it isn't already. From there, I'm going to provide you guys with some resources, so whether you want to learn after the webinar, you'll be able to do so. Also, if there's ever resources as far as you being able to test things, I'll show you guys some of those as well. And then right before we close here, I'll go over some frequently asked questions. So as I've had, like I told you guys, working with the marketing team, doing website development, I have received and researched several different questions that often come up on responsive website design. So I'll share those with you guys. And then finally, to close things out here, I'll give you guys some solutions on what you can do to get yourself a mobile presence, more or less responsive. So let's go ahead and start off with a poll question. I just want to gauge where you guys are right now, so I'm going to serve up a poll question. And this poll question here, bear with me here, is I just want to get an idea how many of you guys have a separate mobile website. And what I mean by that is you have a desktop website that you have to manage, and then you also have a separate website. It's usually m. It's usually my domain /mobile. So I just want to get an idea of how many of you guys currently have a separate standalone mobile website. So I'll give you guys a little bit of time here to answer that question, and then we'll kind of share the results with everyone so you guys can kind of get an idea of how you guys relate to some of your industry partners here. So and we'll let a couple more of these votes come through. All right, so 45 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll here, and then I'll share the results with you guys. So as you guys can see here, for the most part, you guys don't have a responsive website. What you can see here is that you do have what should I say, one of you at least has a separate mobile website. There isn't anything wrong with that. Basically, you at least have a mobile presence. With anything that you can do or anything that you currently do, there's always room for improvement, and responsive website design is just one of those tools that you can use. For those of you who have answered no, I have a responsive website, that is perfect, that's awesome. Hopefully you'll be able to walk away from this webinar understanding a little bit more about what you have and why it is that much beneficial to you. And those of you who don't have a mobile presence at all, please do use this webinar to educate yourself on why it's important, and then again at the end, there's some solutions on things that you can do to take yourself into that area as far as being mobile with your users. So let's go ahead and move into what is responsive website design. So responsive website design is a design approach that allows your website to respond or resize itself by adjusting the layout so that it can be seen on desktops, on laptops, tablets, and mobile devices. So basically, again, what it is doing is you have one website that will respond based off of the environment that a user is coming upon. Some people do their searches while they're at work, so they're on a desktop computer. Some people like to do that right before they go to sleep, so they're on their tablets and they're doing their search. Other people like to do that maybe on their way home if they commute with public transportation. So you making sure that your website can be found regardless of where that user is or what tools they're using is responsive website design, making sure that your website is accessible for the user. Let's go ahead and continue on what responsive website design is. And I'll kind of start by explaining to you guys a little bit of what the old idea of websites were. The old standard, it was a fixed width. And the fixed width was more or less set up because they wanted to make sure that your website was consistently seen on all of the different computers. And you'll see how I emphasize computers. Believe it or not, there was a time before cell phones, a time before tablets, so where computers, the desktop, was the main driving factor. Now that that has slightly changed, that's kind of where responsive website design comes in. So what you see here is a pretty generic example of how most websites, even today, are built. They're based off of a pixel format where a certain area cannot exceed a certain width, so on and so forth. So what happens? Mobile came along. There was a huge, huge, huge mobile push. And this was about, I want to say, 2 years ago, if not a little bit longer, where everyone wanted to make sure that there was a mobile presence, that you had a mobile message, that your mobile users were able to find you. And responsive website design was just a way of addressing the issue of not knowing how your users are searching for you or what devices they're using. So responsive website design was basically the approach of saying, regardless of what device you use, let's make sure that you can access this website and find everything that you're looking for. Responsive website design, as you can see here, is broken into 3 main principles, and I'll cover each one of these so you guys can kind of see what that looks like. You have the fluid grid, which is that responsiveness. You have the fluid images, which basically allow for you to not have to worry about having more than one image on multiple websites. What size are they? Is it going to work on desktop? Is it going to work on tablet? Is it going to work on mobile? The fluid images allow for that image to proportionately scale as it is seen on the different devices. And then from there, we'll talk about briefly the media queries or the breakpoints. This is basically what tells your website how to adjust the layout depending on what device the user comes in on. So let's start off with the first principle here, and that is the fluid grids, which are basically containers built with percentages versus the pixels, and this is what allows that website to respond. So going back to that same graphic I showed you guys here, the green border that you guys see represents the internet browser. It represents your tablet. It represents your mobile device. it will always be 100% of however large that screen is. So if you have a 27-inch monitor, your website and your internet browser usually will stretch that full width. With responsive design, the biggest adjustment is taking those fixed pixels and turning them into percentages. That way they can scale and resize based off of the environment that they're in. So right here, what you'll basically see, and it's more or less at the bottom, is this same example. In order for us to make the content area or the sidebar responsive, it's a matter of converting it into a percentage. And you'll see that at the bottom here, sidebar, rather than being 300 pixels in width, it will be 31%. So regardless of the device that it's being seen on, it will only take up 30% of that full width. So I hope that clears things for you guys. The second principle that we'll talk about is the fluid images. So this is extremely important, and again, it's for the simple fact of you don't need to worry about what size that image is on a desktop versus a tablet versus a mobile. By making sure that you have fluid images, your images will respawn similar to your website and fitting within the container that they're found in. And it's a very simple way of doing that, and it's by using CSS. And it's just by marking up your images, making sure that they have a width of 100%. So always stretch the full width of the container that you're in. Now there's some additional things that you'll definitely want to do is you want to make sure that that image to begin with is as large as it can be for the largest container it will fall in. Everything else working its way down will resize accordingly, proportionately. So you'll see here in this example, the desktop and the laptop and the tablet and the mobile device, that's the exact same set of images in that slideshow, and they're just being proportionately resized with these fluid images so that they can be seen consistently on every device. And then the third and final thing here is the media queries or the breakpoints. The media queries is what tells your website to adjust the layout. And it is only done when certain conditions are met. And then what you'll kind of see here is the screenshot in the bottom left-hand corner is an example of what a media query would look like within a CSS file, a style sheet. And for those of you who are not familiar with the CSS file, a CSS file is the code that's behind the scenes that basically tells your website how to position the layout. So is your logo in the top left-hand corner, or is it in the middle, is it in the right? Do you have a sidebar on the right-hand side or on the left-hand side? That is your CSS. That's your style sheet that's building the layout of the page. The media queries reside within the style sheet and basically say whenever this condition is met, change whatever elements to whatever they are. So you'll see again here in the media screen and max width 480 pixels says anything less, make these adjustments. The wrapper size changes. So previously before that wrapper was 640 pixels, we're now saying change that to 400 pixels. The sidebar, rather than having it float to the left or float to the right, take the float away so it stacks underneath. So this is kind of how the media queries work behind the scenes to make sure that your website responds appropriately. So now that we've kind of understand, a little bit of what responsive website design again is, it's more or less making sure that your website can be seen on all devices and have access to all the information. What I want to share with you guys now is some pros and cons, or at least some differences between a responsive website and then also a mobile website. So the first thing I'll share with you guys is the single website idea. And the single website idea is for a responsive website, more or less talks about the simple fact that you don't have a subdomain, m dot, or a domain /mobile. You have one website that will be consistent with the content, with the images, with whatever links you may have that is accessible through all of the different devices. With a mobile website, it was a dedicated website. And for those of you who don't know, a mobile website, the idea was, let's make this conversation unique to the user. They're on a mobile device. They're looking for a different delivery as far as the message. And that was the initial thought. However, it changed as mobile demand grew, the way that people were using mobile devices wasn't necessarily always on the go. It was also part of their research process. So with mobile websites, what you tend to see is a very small, condensed size or version of your desktop website. And what happens there is you may lose the opportunity for people to have additional pages. With the single website, they have access to all of the pages regardless of where they're at. And then also with responsive, you still have those important things that you had on a mobile before. You have clickable phone numbers to make sure that they can easily get a hold of you guys. There's the ability to quickly email you guys directly from the website. And then again, just the ability to see and access everything, whether it be activities, whether it be events, the special that you have to offer, or just those smaller gem items that just kind of help build your brand and things like that. So having a responsive website allows for you to have a single website, again, that can be seen everywhere. The second thing we have here is a single URL. So this kind of goes back to a single website, is just making sure that for your users or even for Google, they don't have to worry about, should I go to the desktop website or should I go to the mobile website? Or if they went to the mobile website and they didn't get the experience that they want, are they even going to want to go to your desktop website, and vice versa? So again, the benefit of a responsive website is regardless of the fact, they're going to get every page and they're going to be able to access it through the same URL. You don't have to worry about redirects. It's easier on SEO, and again, this goes back to, again, having it on a single website. You don't have to worry about multiple bits of content. What content am I going to put on my desktop website? What content am I going to put on my mobile website? Oh, and then 6 months from now, have to come back and update both of those. So it's easier on SEO because the message is consistent regardless of the device. It isn't unique for a mobile user to a desktop user. And then it's the ability for you to create new content and not have to worry about duplicate content between your desktop and your mobile website. Wrong way. We'll continue. Easy on marketing. So there's no extra work required for getting users to your mobile website. You don't have to go out of your way to create mobile-specific banners or mobile-specific ads or campaigns or promotions where it says, go to our mobile website for this. Check out our mobile website for that. What in the end you can do with responsive is push them to your main website. The only website you have is the one responsive website that is suitable for all of your users on any device that they pick. So it's that much easier on marketing. And then you also don't have to worry about that visit our mobile website link. Think about it as when someone does a search on your website, number one, if you have a separate mobile website, it should take them to that immediately. If your website does not do that and it takes them to the desktop first and you have one of those check out our mobile website links, again, do away with all of that with responsive. Allow your website to respond to the needs of your user. It's low cost, and you'll see in here I put yes in both columns, and I'll address that. As it relates to mobile, I'll start there first. The reason that is more low cost is to what I said earlier. It's usually a smaller scale version of your desktop site. Less pages, less images. So there is less for us to have to develop or build for you as it relates to a mobile website. Now, how is responsive website design low cost? It's the longevity of a responsive website. It's the ability to pay for one website versus having to pay for two websites. It's the ability to not have to worry about making changes to two separate websites and paying for those changes on two different websites. So it's the long-term, low-cost approach of making sure that regardless of the fact my mobile presence is always being taken care of because I'm taking care of my website. The user experience, and again you'll see in here that I have yes on both. I'll start with mobile first. Again, a mobile website, it was all geared for mobile users. So that experience was tailored to making sure that they got everything that we believe that they needed on a mobile device. Click-to-call buttons, larger calls to actions, mobile-related content. Those were some of the things that you wanted to have here on a mobile device. And then it was a smaller amount of pages. It was the bare necessities of what they would need to complete a reservation. With responsive website design, the user experience is enhanced because now you're able to give them everything. You're not picking and choosing what you believe will trigger their purchase decision. You're saying, here's my entire website. Please go through my accommodations, look at my specials, check out the activities in the area. This is the place that you need to be. So it enhances that user experience because they don't have to jump between a mobile website or a desktop website. And a lot of times that will happen where someone starts off on a mobile website, they don't feel as if they're getting what they're looking for, and then they click on that small link at the bottom that says, go to my desktop website. Imagine if you didn't even have to have that link, and no matter what, they always had your website and had access to every page. The speed, and we'll talk about the speed, and this is, I know, a big concern for everyone, and it is for us as well. As it relates to responsive website design and mobile, they go hand in hand as far as speed. With mobile websites, going back to the simple fact that they're a smaller version, a limited amount of information, naturally those websites will load quicker, load faster. With responsive website design, there could be a slight change as far as it taking a second longer for your website to load. And the benefit to that, and that's the biggest thing you guys have to understand, is the benefit is now they get everything. They don't have to worry about, do I need to go to the desktop? Do I need to click on this more link? Should I back out of here and do my search over because I'm not finding everything I need on this mobile website? So I don't want you guys to think that if you have a responsive website, it's going to be a horrendous experience as far as the load times. Those of you who have a responsive website, I'm sure you guys can see that it isn't an issue, and the benefit, of course, is the fact that people can see everything and have access to everything. Future ready. With the mobile website, it's not necessarily future ready in a couple aspects. Number one, anytime you need to make a change to your website, you have to make the change to the mobile website. The mobile websites usually have a separate code base, a separate language that also has to be maintained. So as technology changes, not only are you going to have to worry about what changes do I need to make to my desktop computer, you're also going to have to worry about what changes do I need to make to my mobile website. With the responsive website, it's future-proof. It's one website, all-in-one, that responds regardless of where that website is being accessed through, whether it's a desktop, tablet, or mobile device. It's future-proof. And I'll talk about this a little bit later, but you don't have to worry about what happens when Apple wants to release its new 40-inch monitor. Your website is responsive, so it will respond to the size of that monitor. Same thing with the cell phone. Apple just upgraded their cell phones, and I believe the screen got larger. You don't need to worry about that with the responsive website. It will respond accordingly. And then the final thing that we'll talk about here is easy reporting. And I mean this as it relates to your Google Analytics or whatever tracking tools that you have. When you have a separate website, and that would be the mobile website, you have to do and pull a report on, okay, well, how did this traffic look like when they came onto my mobile website, my mobile domain? And then you're also going to compare that on, okay, well, when they came to my regular website, what does that look like as well? What also can happen here, and your data could be somewhat skewed, is just because someone went to your mobile website doesn't mean that they went to your mobile website on a mobile device. And this goes back to some of those users who have the View My Mobile Website link on their desktop, computer, or excuse me, desktop website. So, you can have some data skewed because you'll think that because someone saw my mobile website, they had to have been on a mobile device, and that's just not true. With responsive website design, you have one website. So when you go and pull your reports, you'll be able to see that everyone came through on your website, and then within your reports, it segments out, okay, this many people came from a mobile device, this many people came from a tablet device. And I know with Google Analytics, it will even go as far as telling you, was this an Android device or was this an iPhone product? So you being able to understand when you're doing your reporting and not having to break a mobile website report against the desktop mobile website report and somehow try and merge that data to get an understanding of your visitors, with the responsive website design, going back to the fact that it's a single website on a single URL, you don't have to worry about the potential of that confusion or that data being cluttered or messy. So those are the pros, cons. of a responsive website versus a mobile website. So I have a second poll question for you guys that I'm going to share with you. So if you could bear with me, I'm going to go ahead and push that poll question up. All right. And this poll question is asking you, what percent of your of your website traffic consists of mobile and tablet devices? So for those of you who are always inside of your Google Analytics account and you're reviewing your website, you're seeing where people are dropping off, you're seeing where people are staying on, I'm interested in knowing how many of you know what type of traffic demand you have on a mobile device or a desktop device. So I'll let this hang up for a little bit longer, and then I'll close the poll and we'll share the answers with everyone here. All right, I've hit my 45-second mark. Let's go ahead and close the poll here, and we'll share the questions with you. All right, so as you can see, the majority of you guys are not sure. So my first thing, or my first recommendation to you guys is, number one, if you don't have tracking on your website, you definitely want to invest in that. And we use Google Analytics. It's a free tracking tool for you. So if you don't have Google Analytics, I definitely recommend that you guys do that. If you need help getting Google Analytics on your website, rezStream, we can definitely help you with that as well. If you do have Google Analytics and you're just not sure how to review that data or how to find that data, definitely reach out to us and we can show you where to find that. Also, Liz Day, who's our lead account manager, she gave a webinar on Google Analytics 101. So you can visit our webinar page on our website and you can review that webinar and see if you can find any helpful information there. For those of you who said 20% or more, that's great to see. Our marketing clients across the board on average see about 20 to 25 plus of their traffic come through on a mobile device. And it's extremely important that you guys understand that the mobile trend it's not starting and it's not coming to an end right now. It's working its way through and it's only going to get stronger. Google actually is predicting that mobile search will overtake desktop search by the end of 2015. So making sure you have a mobile presence is extremely important. So let's go ahead and hide these questions. So the reason I wanted to share that with you guys is more or less because I wanted to talk to you about why you should have responsive website design and why you need it. So again, making sure that you have a way of people to pull you up. I have a top 10 set of reasons why you guys should have responsive website design, and we'll start off with number 10. It's become a website design standard. So I would like to believe that whether you're working with rezStream or any other company, if they're not pushing responsive website design, that is a red flag. It is something that is, again, a solution to addressing the problem of the different devices that are out there. As you can see here, Hudson Crossing, they're seeing that by the end of 2018, 89% of travelers will own a tablet and 91% will own a smartphone. So I can only say how important it is for a responsive website or a mobile website. Reason number 9, your online visitors will appreciate it. It creates a great user experience. Again, so it's just one of those things, making sure that you're thinking about the user before they even touch your website adds value to your brand and adds value to you and them wanting to stay with you. You'll see here, according to Google, that 67% of people who have a bad experience, have a positive experience on your mobile website are more likely to buy from you. So again, making sure you have that mobile presence and it be a good user experience for them only encourages them to buy from you. Reason number 8, it boosts your SEO. It makes it easier for Google to crawl through your website and rank it accordingly. And I kind of touched on this when I showed you guys the pros and cons. It's that same website. It's a single URL. It's the simple fact that Google has to do less to learn about your property. Therefore, when someone does a search, it makes it easier for them to serve up the appropriate results that they're looking for. And they don't have to distinguish between a mobile website or a desktop website. Moving right along to number 7, it assists in social referrals. So social continues to be a very strong trend. It adds value to your brand. And as you can see here, for those people who are active on social, which we recommend through blogging as a route, if you're those type of person that posts your different blogs on your social media websites, those social media users, more often than not, similar to anything else, are on a mobile device. They're on that mobile app, whether it's Facebook or Twitter. So when they click on that link, they're expecting that article to be responsive or to be friendly on a mobile device. So responsive website design answers that question for them. Number 6, it's easier to manage. So responsive website design, because it is one website, when you need to make changes to that website, you're making changes across the board. Updating a photo on your desktop website will update the photo on your tablet and on your mobile device. It's responsive, it's one website. And then it's also one code base. When you have a separate mobile website, it's a separate code base, it's a separate language that also has to be maintained and updated throughout the years. So with responsive website design, it just makes it easier to maintain because you're only having to maintain one website. Reason number 5, you want to get the competitive advantage. So some of you guys already saw that you may not have a mobile presence right now. You're seeing that people a part of this webinar do have a mobile presence. If you don't, you want to definitely do that so you can stand out. You want to make sure that your users know that you're meeting their needs and that you're serving them a responsive, a mobile-friendly website where they can access all the information they need so they can make the appropriate purchase decision. Reason number 4, it's cost-effective, and we talked about this in the pros and cons here. One website is less than 2. Making changes to one website is less expensive than making changes to 2 websites. So it's definitely more cost-effective, and again, long-term. Think about long-term. Reason number 3, it adapts to the future. So again, we talked about this before and briefly touched on it. But again, it kind of goes back to that whole, if a new phone comes out, when a new website comes out, or excuse me, a new computer monitor that's larger in size comes out, you don't need to be fearful of, is my website going to look good on those devices? With responsive website design, the answer to that is yes. It's going to respond and fit regardless of how big or how small the device is. Reason number 2, more conversions, more sales. So by having a responsive website design, again, you're giving them the opportunity to have more information to make that purchase decision. You're still going to have the same strong calls to action. You're still going to have the ability for them to click on a mobile device. So they're not going to lose out on any functionality. If anything, they're going to have more to make a purchase decision on that mobile device. And then again, there's no more fitting or pinching and pulling the screen. If you've ever experienced going to a website and you had to kind of use both your fingers to drag it and make it larger and then bring it down and make it smaller, that goes into how you feel about that website. Do you want to buy from that website? When you buy something from that website, is it going to be that hard for you when you're working with that person because you have to pinch and pull? So think about those things. With the responsive website design, you answer that question. It's always going to be user-friendly. It's going to be visually appealing on any device to make sure that they can navigate around. And the number 1 reason I'm sure you guys are all waiting for is because Google recommends it. Google has several reasons on why you should go responsive. To me, the biggest reason why you should go responsive, if you ask Google, is because Google recommends it. Google is a big boy, they're the big players, and I'll show you a graph on that here shortly. But for the reasons I've already talked to you guys about, it's one URL. It makes it easier for Google's algorithms to navigate through your website and then also be able to serve up the appropriate data when someone completes a search. And then again, it just makes it easier for Google to crawl and provide reporting and letting you know how your website is performing. And again, with having a responsive website, you don't have to worry about 2 different reports. How's my desktop website performing versus my mobile website? You'll only have to worry about how your website is responding. And then you'll see here, I just kind of put a short snippet in here. In 2012 is when Google officially announced that they recommend responsive website design, and there's a link to the full article there, so I do encourage you guys to kind of follow up on that. But with Google being the big players, it's extremely important that you understand what they're recommending and why, and then making sure you're following those trends, because everyone else is doing the same thing. And I'm talking about Yahoo and Bing are following the trends of Google, the leaders. And just continue on point number one. Google's actually showing users now a mobile-friendly website before they even get to your website. So you'll see in these two different snapshots here, if someone does a search, right next to it in the second graph there, and it's kind of highlighted in yellow, you'll see it says mobile-friendly. So before someone even gets to your website, because they're going to see a list of all of your competitors as well, your competitors may say mobile-friendly, some may not. That may determine whether or not they're going to click through with you, because they know that with a mobile-friendly website, they're going to have a great experience navigating through. They're not going to be frustrated. They're not going to have to pinch and pull. They're not going to feel as if they're missing out on information. So it's extremely important that you guys understand that Google is telling users now, hey, this is a mobile-friendly website. This is the one that you want to go to. So you definitely want to make sure that you're following that same trend and making sure that you offer what it is people are looking for. With the graph that I just want to share with you guys here, and again, why I say Google and why Google is number one is because Google is the leader. Their U.S. mobile search market share, as you can see, is 83%. So the majority of people on a mobile device who do any type of search come through Google first. So it's extremely important that you guys understand the importance of that. So we're kind of coming to an end here. I'm going to share with you guys some resources, and again, I'll go over some frequently asked questions and provide you guys with some solutions here. So as for resources, again, this is more or less if you guys want to continue the conversation, whether it be with me or doing some research on your side so you can just get a better understanding, Google is definitely a place to start. Responsive website design basics is just more or less a very raw walkthrough of what responsive website design. Some of that will be technical, so just be prepared for that. Think with Google is basically a place where you can understand the different trends on any market, within any market. And so if you want to understand what's going on in hospitality, Think with Google offers that area where you can go and get information, similarly to what you can find out about responsive website design or mobile. So that's an area that I recommend you guys, reach out to. Testing resources. So walking away from here today, you may say, well, how do I know if my website is responsive? Or how do I know if my competitor's website is responsive? There are some tools here that you can just go to that will allow you to basically paste in their web address, and then you'll be able to see if a website is responsive and then how responsive is it. So those are a handful of tools. And of course, you always have rezStream. We'd love to work with you whether you have questions on your website or if you just have more questions on responsive, what it takes, what it means, we can definitely help you out with that. Our blog, we have a handful of different articles on mobile, on responsive, on traffic, on Google, reporting, etc. So I encourage you to go there. Webinars, similar to today, we've given out a handful throughout the year. I want to say at least 15 or more. And you can find those on our webinar page on our website. And you can go through our archive and kind of visit those and see what other topics that we've talked about. For the FAQs, so let's go ahead and start here. Can you convert my website into a responsive website design? So that goes for those people who have a website right now that is not responsive, you do not have a mobile presence. If you're happy with your website, or you just don't believe you may have the budget for a brand new website, but you want responsive, we can definitely help convert your current website into responsive. As you can see in here, going responsive is a matter of making sure that you have those media queries in your CSS file. So it's something that we can do for you. We didn't have to be the ones to design it or build it. We can jump in there after the fact and help you with that. Question number 2. Do I have to have a responsive design? No, but it's highly recommended. It's more important that you have a mobile presence than anything else. So for those of you who may not have the budget, and mobile is the thing to do, or it's what fits your budget, as much as we don't recommend it, a mobile presence is better than no presence. So you definitely can work with it that way. Question number 3, can responsive website design work with my CMS? So for those of you who have a content management system that allows you to log into your website and make changes, update photos, etc., responsive website design can work with a content management system. Those are actually two separate things. Again, the responsiveness is more or less the code that changes the layouts, has nothing to do with you being able to change or modify your content. So the answer is yes, those two can work together. Can video be used in responsive design? The answer to that is yes. And it goes back to basically the similar principle of fluid images. You have fluid videos where the width is basically set to 100%, so no matter what, it will always scale within the container that it's found in. Question number 5, how do I check if my website is responsive? So before I gave you some tools, some resources to see if the website is responsive, it's just a matter of going to them and clicking in the link. The other thing that you could do here, and I'll show you, is bring over this browser here. On any website that you go to, if you just adjust the size of the browser, then you should see the website should start to respond and adjust the scale of things. The logo will move, the navigation will go away, the images will get shorter in height. So any website that you go to, if you want to test if it's responsive, all you have to do is drag the browser and then change the width of the browser, and that will let you know right away is that website responsive. And then again, in addition to that, you have those resources that I provided you with. Question number 6, how much does a responsive website cost? A responsive website could vary, and you'll see that I have a range here, and that's more or less because a responsive website is going to be custom more often than not. And with a custom website, it's unique to you and your property, what you're looking for, what features and functions you want, and what you need for your users. So if you have a very straightforward, simple offering, then you're looking in the lesser expensive. If you like to have a lot of features, a lot of functions, a lot of bells and whistles, then that could be the higher end. Nonetheless, you have an opportunity to get your website responsive. And does rezStream offer responsive websites? Yes, custom websites as well as pre-built solutions. And we'll kind of talk about that now as we kind of go into things that you can do to kind of get started. So the first thing is convert your current website into a responsive one. So I kind of said that before, but if you're happy with what you have, and you know that you need to either A, go responsive, or B, eliminate the mobile website to save cost long term, then we can definitely work with you on going responsive. And you can also, anyone else should be able to help you with going responsive. If they're saying that they can't help you, come to rezStream because we definitely can. The second reason, or second opportunity that you guys have as far as solutions is a new website. So if you've had your website for 3 or 4 years, you're already at the point where you should start to think about a new website. And as you go through that evaluation process of getting a new website and working with your designer, just make sure you always have in the back of your head a responsive website design. Again, whether you're working with rezStream or not, that's something that we definitely recommend. And yes, again, rezStream can offer that for you and get you into one of those. And then finally, rezStream does have a pre-built website. It's called a TCMS, a turnkey content management system. So the beauty here is not only do you get a responsive website, but you now have a 24-hour access to your website. Because of the content management system, you can log in, you can make changes, and then to step it up a notch, this TCMS is fully loaded with all the bells and whistles that you'll need, that your users may want, that you didn't even know you can have on a website. So if you have any questions about any one of these solutions, you can definitely reach out to rezStream. Reaching out to us by sales@rezstream.com, schedule your one-on-one session to learn more, to ask questions, to figure out more. Also, I'm going to be sending you guys a webinar. You should get that within an hour, or excuse me, a survey. You should get that within an hour after this webinar. I do ask that you guys kind of fill it out and provide me with feedback. I definitely want to know the successes of this webinar in any areas of opportunity. And then finally, again, email questions. You just want to reach out to us, say, hey, please do so. Other than that, I ask that you guys have a happy holiday. Thank you so much for attending my responsive website design webinar. And please do stay tuned on our rezStream website. On our webinar page, we will be updating that with a full list of webinars for 2015. Thank you guys so much and have a happy holiday.